right, welcome to Canadian Mortgage Weekly. Today we're talking about how to make some additional money with a property you already own, or if you're looking to buy a property, how to just make additional income off of that property. Specifically, some of these new housing changes announced by the Doug Ford conservative government. And also with your host here, Joe Bladek, I'll be talking about all those lovely mortgage information, rates, and bond yields, that everything you like to know about here on Canadian Mortgage Weekly, Canada's only weekly mortgage video news podcast. So with that, let's get started here. We're going to talk about these proposed changes for the Planning Act. Doug Ford came out this week and announced that they'll be putting in the ability to do 3 units on one property. And this is proposed changes to the Planning Act, which will become a new province-wide standard here. They're going to be allowing homeowners to put in 3 units on one property, and this will be on municipal land without the need for municipal bylaw amendments. Those things are commonly known as variances, which do add costs, but it could be hundreds of dollars actually of additional costs. Just try to get a variance if your property is not zoned for multi-residential, or if you're living in a neighborhood that doesn't allow for more than just a single family home. Now they're going to eliminate all those red tape requirements to get variances, and just allow everyone that owns a property to be able to add 2 or 3 units in that property. So how is this going to happen? Well, they're going to allow a variation of things. They're going to allow you, if you have a single family home, to add a second unit, like a basement suite or an in-law suite, which is pretty amazing. They're going to be able to do that. And with that, you'll be able to generate additional income from that basement suite or in-law suite. Pretty amazing. You're still going to have to follow building codes and municipal bylaws to generate and install that new unit. However, you'll be able to do that. They're also going to be allowing something different as well, such as laneway homes or garden homes on that property lot. So say if you own a property in a residential neighborhood, you have additional room in the backyard that you're not using, you're going to be able to actually build another garden suite or a laneway home in that lot. So a separate residential structure, and you'll be able to put that together and then rent it out and earn additional income for that unit, which is really going to help Canadians that are homeowners right now generate additional income during this time of inflation, when things are costing more, to be able to generate that income and be able to have additional funds in their pocket. So if you have additional room in your home right now that you're not using, this will be a great way for a homeowner, say you're using that home as your primary residence, to actually change it up, use that extra room in your home to put in a basement suite or in-law apartment. You could even add 2 in-law apartments if your home is big enough and has that space to do that, and or variation of that, an in-law apartment and a laneway or garden home in your backyard. Pretty crazy stuff. So there's been a lot of red tape in municipalities for this type of thing for many, many years. A lot of municipalities have areas in towns and cities that don't allow for multi-residential units, and they usually restrict them to a certain part of the city. Sometimes it's the downtown area. Sometimes it's an area where there are many multi-residential lots. But now you could be living beside a family home, and all of a sudden your neighbor decides to put in a basement apartment and a garden home in the backyard, and you're not really going to be able to do anything about that. So I'm curious to know, is this a good change that's proposed or a bad change? If you're watching this episode of Canadian Mortgage Weekly, comment below as to whether you think this is a good change or a bad change. Is this a change that you would consider doing on your own home to make this additional income on your own home? Usually also, there's another really neat thing that's coming along with this, what the Doug Ford conservative government has proposed, and that is usually there's development charges and there are parkland dedication fees involved when you're putting together a new unit or a laneway home or a garden home, say if it is approved through the city. Now they're actually wiping out those extra development charges. There'll be no parkland dedication fees. So that's pretty amazing as well. They're not going to make it additional. They're not going to allow municipalities to collect those fees. So it's going to really lower the cost to be able to generate this extra unit. Usually development charges and parkland dedication fees to add a second unit end up costing thousands of dollars extra on top of the initial construction costs to be able to put in that extra unit. And as I mentioned, these new units will need to abide by building codes and municipal bylaws. So you just won't be able to throw a kitchen in the basement and call it a day and you rent it out. You'll have to actually do a separate entrance, a separate self-contained unit. Electrical code will need to be followed. Plumbing codes will need to be followed. So there are those codes that still need to be followed, but the red tape is gone for this proposed change. Now, this is going to be Ontario-wide, so Windsor to Ottawa, Toronto to North Bay, all the way north of Ontario as well. It's going to be Ontario-wide. It's a proposed change to the entire Planning Act. So this is going to be a new province-wide standard. And why is the Ontario government doing this? They're doing this to generate housing. There is a mandate to generate additional housing in Ontario. And it's really important for the government to reach that mandate of creating additional homes. And to create additional homes, this is one of the ways that the government is creating additional homes, by allowing homeowners to generate additional units. And by allowing homeowners to generate additional units, they're hoping that homeowners will take advantage of that. And it's going to add to the mandate of the government creating additional homes and additional units for the Canadians that are out there. So curious to see what your comments are about this. You can put it in the chat. I'll try to answer these on air. If not, then I'll try to answer them off air. And as far as mortgages go, if you're looking to finance a unit like this, I'm a mortgage broker that works Ontario-wide and can meet with you via Zoom or Snapchat or on Skype or by phone call or by text. And we can talk about refinancing your current home to be able to take the equity out, so you could use that equity to use it as construction costs to implement that second unit or third unit in your existing home. Or perhaps you have a rental property. Maybe you're renting it out as a single family home or as a duplex right now. You'll have that opportunity, if you have that additional space in the backyard or in the home, to convert that single family or duplex home into a duplex or triplex and be able to use that extra room, rent it out for additional income. Right now, during this time of inflation and rising house prices, and where we're at right now with the economy, we have been seeing that rents have been rising. So with that, it's going to create additional opportunity for these people that are putting in these second and third units to be able to rent them out as well and earn that additional stream of income that is going to be there for years to come. Also, really cool for resale value. If you're looking at reselling those units, say you put in a legal second and third unit, your home will now be able to be maybe even sold quicker when you go to put your home up for sale, simply because not only will that homeowner be able to live in that unit, but they'll be able to qualify for a higher mortgage amount, simply because that second and third unit, the bank will be able to accept that second and third unit income as part of your mortgage qualifications. So that buyer that's looking at buying your home and that with that second and third unit, they'll be able to afford a more home, simply more of your home, versus a home similarly like yours if it's just a single family home, because they'll be able to actually take into account the income from that second and third unit. So really neat, really awesome stuff. Looking to really get your comments on this and what you think this is going to do to the housing market. How is this going to change what the demand for housing is going to look like? I know that for immigration, Canada is looking at bringing in over 400,000 people this year, over 400,000 people next year, and for years to come, every year it's about 500,000 people going forward. Additional population coming to Canada, and those folks, they will either need to rent, which will push more demand onto the existing rental housing, or they will need to buy. And a lot of these folks, they do want to buy. So either way, because of the housing demand we have now, it's going to push that further. And with the way the interest rates are now, a lot of people really can't afford too much of more home right now. So creating these extra rental units, I think it's a really ingenious way for the government to meet that mandate of creating additional rental units. So let's get into our presentation here today. We're looking at episode 106 here on Canadian Mortgage Weekly. We've been doing these episodes now for over 100 episodes. Pretty amazing. So let's take a look at what we're looking at here today. With episode 106, I'd like to start out here with the bond yield. So with the bond yield, we are at 3.54%. So where are we since our last rate update? Well, it's actually dropped. When we had our rate announcement last week on Wednesday, October 26, 2022, the bond yield did drop by 35 basis points. And what have we seen since then? We've actually seen 5-year fixed rates take a little bit of a dive since last week, so much so that I'm reviewing rate sheets being sent out by lenders right now, and we're noticing that the 5-year fixed rate has gone down since last week. So that is something new, something to consider if you're looking at getting pre-approved. You can get pre-approved now for a lower 5-year fixed rate than you would have if you were pre-approved prior to the rate announcement of the rates going up. Sounds backwards, but that's just how it is. 5-year fixed rates have gone down, and the bond yield has been slowly rising since that drop last week. So it's at 3.54%. So fixed rates are a little bit lower now. So definitely recommend getting pre-approved now if you are looking to get a fixed rate. And if you are considering variable rate, do give me a call, because there are some things to consider if you want a variable rate. Perhaps your lifestyle or your goals for home ownership will actually make it so a variable rate is recommended. So looking forward here on inflation, we see for inflation, it's currently at 6.9% for September. We will receive updated inflation numbers next week, perhaps for October. We're looking forward to seeing lower inflation for October. Inflation did peak at 8.1% in June 2022 and has been going down slowly since then. Obviously, prices are still rising, just at a lower rate since they were in June of 2022. If this trending down does continue, rate hikes will subside. We've already seen it with the Bank of Canada. In the summertime, the Bank of Canada did raise rates by 100 basis points. Then in September, they raised rates by 75 basis points. And then in October, they raised rates by 50 basis points. So they are slowing the rate hikes, as well as you see inflation has been slowing as well. Let's take a look at U.S. inflation right now. The U.S. inflation is at 8.2%, still trending down from the high of 9.1% this summer. And also we've seen that inflation come down, but still at a very high rate, and prices are still rising. Now the CDOR rate's currently at 4.58%. This is a metric that I use to determine if the variable rate currently is a good deal. Now, because the CDOR rate is at 4.58%, the variance from the prime rate versus the CDOR rate is 0.97. Now, because it's under 2%, I would really consider fixed rates versus variable rates equally now, instead of saying always variable rate, because when the variance is so low, it really makes it hard to give the case that a variable rate should be the way to go. Now, your homeownership goals, your lifestyle, and the type of housing you own and all that will really determine whether or not variable rate is the way to go in this case. So do give me a call, Joe Bladek. I'm a mortgage broker that works all over Ontario and can meet with you via Skype or Zoom to talk about if fixed rates or variable rates are right for you. In this case, the popular option has been 2- and 3-year fixed rates, and we will probably see that go forward for the next few months, as people are thinking that for the next 2 or 3 years at least, rates could be going up, but we don't know that. We don't have a crystal ball. So a lot of people have been locking in for the short term. So if that's something you're interested in, give me a call. Looking at the Bank of Canada rate announcement, our last rate announcement brought the overnight rate up to 3.75%. This is a rate that hasn't been seen since 2008. So our overnight rate at the start of COVID went down to 0.25%, with it now being at 3.75%. That is a massive jump of 3.25%. So the last rate increase was 50 basis points. And now the next rate announcement is set to be on December the 7th, 2022. So join me for a special pre-rate show and live rate announcement on December the 7th. We'll start at 9:45 a.m. with a pre-rate show discussing the news and what's been happening and trending in the market leading up to the rate announcement. With a live rate announcement at 10 a.m. And then we'll discuss the reaction to that live rate announcement on the episode following day. So with what's happening with the next rate announcement, we'll have to see what the inflation numbers are for October and what the inflation numbers come out for November. Now, with regards to that, that's really going to dictate as to A, how much the rate is changing, and B, if it's going to change at all. So we'll see that next month on December. I know with Christmas and the holidays coming up, it does make it a lot harder for Canadians to stomach rate increases at that time of year. So we'll have to see what the Bank of Canada does. Now, for the average national home price, we have here for September 22, our numbers are out still for September. The national average house price is at $640,479. So we have 2 consecutive months of house prices going up now since August. It's a very small increase. They did drop quite considerably since February of 2022. We dropped about 23.8% since February of 2022. And since then, they did rise by 1.5% in August and 0.44% in September. So it'll be interesting to see what happens next week when the average national house price does come out for October. Now, this is a Canada-wide average national house price, so it's not specific to your area. If you're interested in finding out what your average house price is for your area, whether you're in Orillia, here where we broadcast from, or Barrie, Ontario, Simcoe County, or any other city in Ontario, do give me a call. I can hook you up with a local real estate agent in your local market that can help you determine what the average price is for your specific area and whether it's increasing or decreasing. Now, with the average national house price being at $640,479, what kind of income does it take to get into the house market right now with the minimum down payment? Well, it will take a minimum household income of $133,000 to be able to get into the average national house price home. And that minimum down payment will be at around $42,000, and that's including closing costs. So if you're looking at getting into the average Canadian home today, you'll need an average annual income for your family of $133,000 with $42,000 for your down payment and closing costs. If you're considering buying a home today and you're a first-time home buyer, I know that I was a first-time home buyer once, and I didn't know really what to do. What you will need to do most of the time is, because your annual income will not be $133,000, is to be able to add a cosigner. And a cosigner can essentially increase your average annual income for your household. And by doing that, your income will be able to be higher for that qualification purposes. And as long as you can qualify for a higher mortgage, you'll be able to get into that home with a cosigner. And what we're seeing is a lot of moms, dads, grandparents, uncles getting on board and co-signing for their kids to be able to get into their home today. So that's some information to consider there with the national average house price coming out there for September of 2022. So again, my name is Joe Bladek. This is Canada's only weekly national mortgage news podcast, aims to the Canadian homeowner to be able to help you with your mortgage decisions and with your home ownership goals. If you have any questions, do either put them in the chat below or send me a private message. You can book an appointment with me through the link in the link description below, and you can book an appointment today, and we can meet over Zoom, Skype, chat, or text, or email, or phone, whatever you prefer, to get started on your mortgage today. With mortgage rates the way they are, you never know where they will be at next week. So if you're looking at refinancing to add that second or third unit in, do give us a call today to be able to get that all started. And we can do that to be able to get you that second and third unit, or even just an additional unit in your primary home, to be able to earn you that additional income, so you can earn an additional income stream on top of your current job or career that you're doing currently. So anyway, this is Joe Bladek. Thanks for watching today. This has been episode 106. Thanks for watching, and we look forward to seeing you next time here on Canadian Mortgage Weekly. And we're gone for now. Talk to you all later.